right, welcome back to News Center. Thank you very much for staying with us. This is, of course, 30 minutes to go here on the show. We appreciate all the feedback and, of course, you watching the show News Center. Let's continue with our coverage. And like I mentioned earlier, today is International Day to End Obstetric Fistula. Obstetric fistula is one of the most serious and tragic injuries that can occur during childbirth. Our reporter Najma Ismail had spoken to some of the women affected by fistula on the show on All Women. Let's take a look at that.
First episode of the All Woman, I brought you the story of a lady who for 25 years has been living in shame, agony and depression due to a fistula condition she acquired at the tender age of 14 years. We did a follow-up of her story. When I met Inviolata, she looked like any other ordinary woman. But beyond the worried look on her face and the loose-fitting, torn but spotlessly clean clothes is a deeper story of agony.
Nikashikwa na kifafa. Na vile nilishikwa na kifafa hapo hivyo na nikaanguka hapo kwa floor. Daktari wakakuja kunichukua kwa kunipeleka kwa chumba ya kuzalisha huko. Nilijijua baada ya siku 2, nikaona jinsi wamenikata huko chini, wamenikata tu hivyo tu. Nikaona kitanda nilikuwa nimelalia imeloa kabisa.
Inviolata is unable to get a child and has been isolated from her family due to stigma. Whispers from her neighbors regarding her condition has made her keep to herself in their tiny homestead in Nakuru County. The only support that she has is her physically challenged husband. Several months later, I heard that Jamal Hospital in Nairobi helps to treat women with obstetric fistula for free. I immediately arranged for Inviolata to come to Nairobi. Our team from Nakuru, led by Masi Kahenda from the Standard newspaper, met her that morning at her home. Inviolata was very excited. The smile on her face was evident that this woman did not slip a wink. She has been dreaming about this day for a very long time. Immediately, she gathered her belongings, which comprise of old t-shirts and paper bags. This she uses as temporary diapers to stop the leaking of urine. She says goodbye to her physically challenged husband and promises to return soon. Without her, her husband is immobile. Her husband was equally excited. Maybe after a very long time, he will have a normal relationship with his wife.
Kuanzia wakati ule vile tulikutana na nyinyi mpaka kufikia kwa wakati wa sasa ni kitu yenye nimekuwa nasubira sana kwa ile kuahidi vile mtiari mlikuwa mmeniahidi matokeo nini itakapotokea. Kwa hivyo nimekuwa na hofu sana kuwasubiri, na kuanzia wakati huo mpaka saa hizi hata ndio mwili bado nasikia maumivu ikiwa yanisumbua hivi, lakini kwa yale matarajio ambayo kwa wakati wa saa hizi nimefikia ni kitu yenye nimefurahi sana.
All right, so that is Najma Ismail just highlighting the plight there. And we want to have this conversation. It is one thing that has affected quite a number of women, and I want us to have a conversation with Dr. Isaac Wasike, who is a gynecologist and obstetrician, and is also a lecturer. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Betty.
All right, so we want to first of all understand. Najma, of course, has tried to make us understand what obstetric fistula is all about, but maybe from your point of view, how simply can you explain it so that we can all understand?
Obstetric fistula. A fistula is basically a communication between two potty linings. In science, we call it epithelial linings. So when there's an abnormal communication, then there's a free flow of fluid from one compartment to the other. Like in this case, the commonest fistula is in obstetrics is a flow from the bladder, communication between the bladder and the vagina. That is normally referred as viscovaginal fistula. We have other forms of fistula, communication between the rectum and the vagina, and then you have rectovaginal fistula. You can also have the ureters directly communicating into the vagina, uretrovaginal fistulas. Then there are other many fistulas that can form on the body.
All right.
Yes. The commonest cause of fistulas in Africa and in Kenya particularly is obstetric. As earlier you alluded on, it's a complication of delivery.
Yes.
Yeah, that occurs during delivery.
All right. So what exactly happens? Because it occurs during childbirth.
Yes.
So what exactly happens if I'm giving birth? How does it happen exactly?
Yeah, to explain the pathophysiology is, which means the cause.
Yes, the cause.
Basis is that if there's delayed intervention when there is obstructed labor, then there's compression, because the bladder just overlies the uterus and part of the vagina, the birth canal. So when the baby is descending down and there's delayed and there's compression of that septum, the boundary between the bladder and the vagina, or the birth canal. Then there's compression, continuous compression, there's cut of blood supply, and then eventually, of course, you get the death of the tissue ties, which you call necrosis. And then it can slough off, and then there's a hole open. So the urine, instead of being contained in the blood, it just continuously flows through the vagina.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so at least now we've understood how it happens. So it is something, of course, that is preventable.
It's preventable. And there are very many interventions. First of all, I need to mention that fistula is common in poor settings. It's now the biggest pattern in sub-Saharan Africa for obvious reasons, because of poverty, high prevalence of poverty, and because of that, there's reduced access to professional health care or good facilities that can intervene quickly. So this condition occurs in poor settings where women cannot access professional assistance during birth. But it can also be caused by negligence, even in our facilities, where women present early, but the monitoring is poor, despite the tools we have for monitoring labor. Because if labor is poorly monitored, then these women will be left to labor for too long, and that compression occurs, and of course, we get the fistula. But also some practices that are against women, reproductive rights of women, like what we do in our country have rampant in some societies, female genital cutting or mutilation. With serious practice in some parts of this continent, like northern Nigeria, parts of Ethiopia. And you get, because of that injury to the urethra, then the closing mechanisms for continence of urine is lost. So these women leak throughout.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so, of course, we've understood what it is all about and how and indeed that it is preventable. But also there are some cultures in which when this happens, you know, the women, of course, become almost like castaways, you know.
Yeah, they get ostracized.
Yes, ostracized.
And there's a lot of stigmatization.
Yeah.
Especially urinary fistula, because you see the smell of urine and all that. It's an embarrassment, and nobody wants to associate with those women. So they get either they are sent away from their marriages by their husbands, or their husbands disappear. And so they get isolated, and it's very demeaning for women. Yeah.
And is there a solution to it? Is there something that can be done to women?
It has been shown, you know, even from the beginning of human civilization, this problem has been there for a long time. But it has been shown that with development, economic empowerment of women, improvement in health services, like what we had, free maternity in this country. It has played a big role in improving. And so long as we empower women, they can afford good health care. And also we train healthcare providers on monitoring of labor using simple tools, then you can eradicate it. Actually, in the developed countries, it's unheard of, except the one that is caused by either cancer treatment or iatrogenic, where the skills of doctors might be bad during cesarean section, the blood is cut, and you don't recognize it, or during hysterectomy. So those are the only, but you don't get obstetric fistulas in developed world.
In developed countries. Can it be corrected? If a
Yes,
woman,
it is.
How is it corrected then?
There are surgical procedures that can be carried out if it's recognized early. Some of the fistulas, 20%, if it's recognized and treated early, it just heals on its own. It doesn't need surgical intervention. So if a woman delivers in a facility, they find she's leaking, or she came from home late, then they just put a catheter. They relieve the pressure on the bladder. It simply heals. But those ones that don't heal, then they need surgical intervention. And surgical intervention can be through many ways. And it's very successful now. The treatment of fistula success rate has really improved with the advancing technology. And there is approach through the birth canal, or it can be minimal access surgery, or it can be opening of the abdomen. Yeah, the success rate is pretty high, about 90%, 90 to 95%. Yeah.
So the take home is that even if it has happened, it can be corrected.
It can be corrected.
It's not the end of life, because in many communities, women are treated.
Yeah. So long as they're brought to the facilities, especially during camps, or in some countries we have permanent hospitals for treating fistula.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of getting the women to those facilities.
To visit. Yeah. And do you think the information is out there? Because you said that, these cases happen, maybe in the rural areas, impoverished
the information
areas.
is not out there. It's surprising that you can go in some society, some communities in this country, where health service is very close. Let's give an example like Western Kenya. We were surprised to find there are so many women who have obstetric fistulas and they have never been taken for treatment. And this is because I think the information is not well out there. Yes.
Interesting. So today being the day to mark the World Obstetric Fistula Day, as a doctor, in that field, and as somebody who has dealt with the cases, what is it that you'd want people out there to know about this particular, do I call it disorder?
Yeah. The most important information is that there's hope for these women. And they just need to come out. We have various camps in this country, like the AMREF program has quarterly camps that we go to various facilities in the various counties to carry out free treatment. They just need to come to the hospital and they will be given free treatment. We have a huge camp normally that occurs in Kenyatta every June. It takes 2 weeks. We do a lot of operations, more than 200 women. So if I think community awareness should be promoted significantly. Yeah.
Interesting. So it happens in June?
Yes.
All right. So that means that if anybody is watching and they know somebody, a woman who's suffering from obstetric fistula, they have an option to come
to Kenyatta National Hospital, and there will be a camp there for 2 weeks. And it's free treatment.
Free treatment.
Yes.
And free surgical procedures.
Free, yes.
All
they
right.
walk in and walk out.
And okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Dr. Isaac Wasike. He is an obstetrician. Yes. Your profession has one of the toughest words, obstetrician and a gynecologist. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right. He's also a doctor with AMREF, talking to us about obstetric fistula, and that is truly is not the end of the world for any woman out there who has suffered any injury, during childbirth. There is an option, like he mentioned, in June at Kenyatta National Hospital. There is a camp in which you can go and actually get treated for it free of charge. So if you know a woman out there who's suffering from it, it's very important information for you to pass there, as we, of course, mark the International Day of Obstetric Fistula. All right, let's now take a look at sports before we wind up the show. Thank you very much. All right, so let's now take a look at some sporting action. England head to the World Cup with a youthful sound and lowered expectations from the public. But Captain Harry Kane says he still believes the team is capable of returning home from Russia as champions. Manager Gareth Southgate has picked a relatively inexperienced group of players for the tournament, where they will face Tunisia, Belgium and Panama in Group G. England have not won a senior international tournament since 1966. And the pressure that comes from high expectations has hampered them in recent competition. But nonetheless, Kane thinks a triumph is actually possible.
Much changes, you know. I'm someone who likes to lead by example on and off the pitch, and that's what I'll try and continue to do. We have some young players in the squad who sometimes look up to players like that, and obviously we've got some older players as well who have been there, who I can still learn from as well. So it's important that it isn't just me. Although I'm going to be captain, we need other leaders in the team, and I think we've got that. So, yeah, from my point of view, I just carry on doing what I'm doing and act the same. Yeah, I believe we can. I think anyone can. I can't sit here in front of you and say we're not going to win it, because we could do. So it's just my mindset. I want to win at everything I do, and I know a lot of players in the team want to win at everything they do. So that's what we're going to try and do. Like I said earlier, it's going to be extremely hard. There's some really, really good teams in the World Cup, but it's worth fighting for. Like I say, them dreams of lifting it, I'm sure we've all had them, and it's an opportunity for us. So we're going to fight and give it everything we got.
Nigeria are the only African team returning to the World Cup finals after playing in Brazil 4 years ago, and must get a pass to familiar foe if they want to reach the second round again. Nigeria have been paired with Argentina for the 5th time in the 6 World Cup appearances, having finished second to Lionel Messi and his team in their group at the 2014 finals, and advancing to the last 16, where they lost to France. Getting past the group stage is the minimum target for Nigeria, but they will also have to get the better of tough European pair Croatia and Iceland if they are to advance. Now, the banknote, the first of its kind in several ways, by being the first Russian